PokeRogue is a Pokemon game that took the community by storm, and in my opinion, was a very challenging. So what if I made PokeRogue more challenging? I've seen many YouTubers struggle their first attempts playing PokeRogue.
Okay, the run is over. The run is over.
And ultimately, they have to result using broken starters such as Tinkatink, which evolves into Tinkaton, or just using legendaries in general. So I wanted to see if I could beat PokeRogue without any starters. So the rules I established for this run is to choose a starter Pokemon, which I would only use to catch the first encounter, then I would release that starter Pokemon thereafter, and then I would just basically be using encounters for my entire run. And my strategies for this run is my strategies for beating PokeRogue is building a good enough team to beat the bosses, save enough money so I can save for potions and revives for big trainer fights, and most importantly, having good luck. Chapter 1, Getting Unlucky. So attempt 1, I first catch a Nidoran, then I catch a Sunkern. Then I encounter a Yungoos. In normal Pokemon games, catching a full HP level 3 Pokemon on Route 1 usually has a high catch rate. However, in PokeRogue, the catch rate for Pokemons are harder as all of my Pokeballs fail to catch the Yungoos and my team wipes out. So in attempt 10, I failed to even catch the first Pokemon, which is a common occurrence in most of my runs, resulting in many attempts. So in attempt 3, even when I do catch the first Pokemon, sometimes I get into a double battle. And due to my starter Pokemon being quote unquote invisible and not usable, this results in a 1v2 and results in me losing this attempt. Chapter 2, Rival Ivy, levels 8 to 25. So on attempt number 4, we encounter our rival Ivy on level 8. And this fight is pretty tough since our random counters have to carry us throughout this fight. And with the level system, it's really hard to persevere through this fight. You have weak Pokemon, and you just have a random assortment of random mons that we have to use, and this results in many wipes and many resets. Attempt number 14. So we catch a Colony at level 2, which helps us fight our rival at level 8. And Colony is good, especially against our rival, since our rival has a Chespin, which our Colony just tanks. And our Colony is fast enough to also outspeed the Picky Peck, which allows us to get some chip damage before switching into our Starly to finish off the fight. Then at level 10, the boss is a Silcoon, which, is not really much of a threat. I just weaken it with Starly and catch it as it's a high enough level to replace one of my weaker mons. And at level 20, we encounter a Lickitung, which doesn't have any damaging moves, so we just weaken it, and we just eventually catch it. On level 25, we encounter rival Ivy yet again. And this time, I'm a bit under leveled. You know, overall my team is pretty weak. She has a level 18, and most of my Pokemon are level 14 below, so basically Quilladin just sweeps my whole team. Even though, yeah, it just sweeps my whole team. I should have played I should have played better. Like, I should have switched to a different Pokemon than Staravia, and I could have taken out Quilladin with my Staravia. But, you know, I don't think I would have beaten this battle either way, just because of the level discrepancy between me and rival Ivy. Chapter 3, Gym Leaders, levels 30 to 140. So in Set 23, we first catch a Tandemaus, which helps us carry us throughout the early game. So level 8, we have the move Echoed Voice, which increases our attack damage each time we use the move continuously. So I just spam Echoed Voice, which obliterates the rival Ivy. On level 24, we encounter Houndour, which is level 16, which is extremely high, and this helps us face off against rival Ivy in level 25 since we have a switch in against Dartrix. Right here, I just let Dondozo kill my Houndour since I don't want any of my other mons taking damage. He uses Water Gun, KOs us. And then I switch into Pikachu since, you know, Electric's good against water. But for some reason, it just spams Thundershock, so I don't know why it's like that, but I just paralyze it and confuse it. Then I think I just switch into Tandemaus so I can get my Echoed Voices in, so I can prepare to sweep. I take out Dondozo, and then Ivy sends out Dartrix after this. And I thought I could 2-hit KO Dartrix right here, but apparently it just lives with like 3 HP and then it gets overgrow, so it just KOs my Tandemaus. I have quick attack on Fletchling, so I use that to KO Dartrix, but Ivy switches out to Trumbeak, and I get a lucky Ember burn which is very helpful. Like I would have died right there. I wouldn't have died, but yeah, I would have died right there on Pikachu if I didn't get that burn. So I got pretty lucky there. Then able to outspeed Dartrix and finish off the fight. So here's where things get complicated. I see a Magneton, and Magneton it's a versatile, bulky Pokemon. It's Steel Electric, so its only weakness is basically fighting, fire, and ground. And Steel types are very good in this game, I would say. And I want to replace my Pikachu with this. So I tried catching it. It's at like 5 HP. I'm throwing great balls at it, and I can't seem to catch it. So I just keep on chucking, and it's not even budging. So I have 2 months left to catch this, and you know, for me, I have a Master Ball in my inventory, but I'm obviously not going to use it. And I catch it here, but I only have 1 Pokemon left, which is problematic because in PokeRogue, in order to revive a Pokemon, you need money, and right there, as you can see, I'm broke. For some reason, I don't go with the revive here, which is a big mistake. Which ultimately leads me to being wiped out. Attempt number 25. So in this run, I have a decent party. It's not very good, but it's not very bad either. So I catch this Magneton, and I take a lot of damage on Talonflame, which is gonna come back to bite me later. And I do manage to catch this Magneton, but I do lose a Magneton in the process, which I probably shouldn't have lost. And I don't know why I'm using Pokeballs here. I should use like a Great Ball or like an Ultra Ball. The reason why this is problematic is because I forget to heal. And at the end of the level, like at the last 10 levels for every fight, so 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and so on, there's always going to be a boss Pokemon or a gym leader. And since I forgot to heal, I just instantly get swept here, which I don't think would have mattered in the long run, because looking at my team, I don't really have anything to counter Electric type. Attempt number 42. So in level 24, we encounter a Meryl, and Meryl could be a huge factor in our team due to the ability Huge Power. And what Huge Power does, it doubles your attack stat, and when Meryl evolves into a Azumarill, it learns Aqua Tail and Play Rough, which it covers a lot of moves. And in level 30, we have a double boss battle, which it's very rare for that to happen. And we have a pretty weak team right now, and this fight is pretty tough. But we managed through, and we managed to catch Frogadier too, which is a good addition to our team. Level 33, we managed to catch a Drillbur, which is vital since it falls into X-Drill, which is a powerhouse Pokemon, and having a good ground type is really good for this game. At level 40, we encounter a ultra rare encounter, Archelodon. It's a Dragon Steel, and it's in its third evolution state, which is very good. And it also knows the hidden ability, or not hidden ability, but the ability Stamina, which increases the defense every time I think the user's attacked. So this is a very bulky Pokemon and has a very good coverage, which would be a good addition to your team if we manage to catch it. Right here, I use Drillbur since it's a ground type, and I basically swap every time he uses electrical. What move is it? Electric shot, because it takes 2 turns, and I can just switch to Drillbur and chip Acrolodon and not try to catch it. On level 48, we're in a dojo which mainly consists of fighting type Pokemon, and right here we get paralyzed by a Thunder Punch by Hariyama, which will bite us in the back later on. Right here, we're approaching level 50, which means it's going to be a boss fight or a gym leader. And as we can see here, I don't prepare for the boss fight or gym leader. I just leave my Azumarill paralyzed and 2 of my Pokemon with half HP, which results in a pretty rough battle. So I managed to take out the Manfowl with my Azumarill. Here comes Lucario, which is a huge threat to our team. I'm not able to one-shot it with Play Rough since it's a Steel type. Holucha outspeeds my Fletchinder, so I just sack it for no reason. But I do get the Flame Body off, which is good. Holucha has a Citrus Berry, which is unfortunate. Has 2 Citrus Berries. He keeps on using Mega Punch, so I don't think that's a fighting type move, and then I think we're +3 on defense. And X-Drill evolves right here, which doesn't really matter. Here comes Lucario, so we're +3 on defense, but uses a special type move, Aura Spear, and one hit KOs are Acrolodon, and right here we really have nothing for Lucario, so we just wipe out. Attempt 41. So in attempt 41, we reach stage 50 and we fight against Chuck. So Chuck is a fighting type gym leader and we have a Meow Stick that knows side beam, so we just annihilate Pam-chan right here. Use some decent damage on Primate and confuse it. Then we have Squawk ability to clean up this fight. And we go in Hitmonchan since it has the most defense, or it has the most speed too. And we get, with the help of the Iron Fist, we're able to KO. On level 55, we encounter rival Ivy yet again. Starts off with Charizard, and we use a fake out first. And we use a light screen to minimize his special attack. And we switch into Hitmonchan as a Death Father. And we switch into Excadrill since we put up light screen, so we should be able to take one Flamethrower. And we use Rock Slide since it's 4 times effective and KO the Charizard. We also learn Dig this fight, which I don't think would be useful since she mainly has a variety of Pokemon types. Which is a Corviknight, and I really have nothing to take it, so I just do some chip damage with Rock Slide. And we managed to get a flinch, and she goes for Scary Face and misses all her attacks, which somehow we KO the Corviknight without Excadrill fainting. I switched into Primate as a Death Father since it's pretty much useless, and then switch into Meowstic to KO it with Side Shock. And she has a Vigoroth, I just use a Side Shock for chip damage. And I go into Conkeldurr as it's and use a Dynamic Punch. That's my only fight move currently, so I'm just praying for the 50-50 luck. And I managed to miss all 5 Dynamic Punches. But I'm able to KO the Vigoroth with Rock Slide. Level 80, we encounter Erica, who is a Grass-type gym leader. She starts with a Jump Bluff. We stay in Hitmonchan since we have Ice Punch, but she uses Bounce, so we switch into Excadrill to minimize the damage. We click Rock Slide. And we get paralyzed. But we have a Lumberry, so we're cured of paralysis. She goes for Giga Drain, and I thought she would switch since the AI usually switches when we have a powerful move. But we managed to live and KO the Jump Bluff. He goes in Blossom and we stay in since we're +2 already. Extra faints, and we send out Meowstic to clean up this fight. He goes in Tingler and we go for Psychic and we one hit KO. And since most grass type Pokemon are also poison, we managed to just sweep a Meowstic. Level 95, we counter Ivy again. Starts off with Charizard and we go for Stone Edge on Conkeldurr. She switches to Flamingo. And I switch to Meowstic. I go for Psyshock, and she switches to Corviknight. So in result, I switch out to Obstagoon. And use Obstruct to harshly lower the Corviknight's defense by 2 stages. So I just spam that move, and then I just go for Night Slashes. For Obstruct to see what move it's going for, it goes for Brave Bird. I'll switch out to Extra Drill since I think it could outspeed, and it does. Let's charge it out, and she's obviously going to go for Flamethrower. I just decide go for Earthquake since she is, I think, in PokeRogue, if it's like a pure type, shiny and glowing, and it's like terrestrialized. So she sends out Garchomp, and it's obviously going to go for Earthquake. So we go in Torterra. We go for Earthquake, but she switches into Corviknight. And we just switch back to Extra Drill. We missed the Rock Slide, which is unfortunate. But we managed to KO the Corviknight. Switch back to Torterra to tank the Air Power or Earthquake. I'm going to hit my giant since we have Ice Punch. And we want him to KO with the Garchomp. For Slacking, we go for Close Combat, which does a lot of damage. And since it's Truant, we can just go into anything and KO it. Level 110 we face against Lenora, a normal type gym leader. Starts with an DD, and we just try setting up. Go for Rock Slide, we have a Reviver Seed, so we're able to live. And I should have doubled up on Sword Dance, I would have KO'd the Sawsbuck. And previously, I forgot to heal, so my team is in very bad shape. By very bad shape, I mean by horrendously down. Like, all my Pokemon are on red HP or yellow, and she has five more Pokemon. So due to this mistake of forgetting to heal, we ultimately just wipe out. Attempt number 49. In level 120, we face against Brawly, and this is a really bad matchup for us since Brawly is a fighting type gym leader, and 4 of our 6 Pokemon are super effective against fighting types. So we try to sweep with River Broom, but we get Dynamic Punch, then we get confused. I should have swapped, but I just stayed in for some reason. River Broom gets KO'd, and we're ultimately left with a team that just gets destroyed by fighting types. And with nothing to really fight against fighting types, we just ultimately wipe out. In attempt 32, we forget to heal yet again before a gym leader. So in level 140, we face against Marnie, who I believe is not a gym leader, but is a rival. That's same thing considered as a gym leader fight. We face against Marnie with a weakened team of 6. Here, I get critted, which is very unlucky on Swampert. I really have nothing to really switch into since all my Pokemon are very weak. I sacrifice Kling Klang, switch into Roulette, and I sacrifice Slowbro. Go into Exegil for the Rock Slide, which I should have just went for Earthquake since it's Terastallized, but I didn't really realize at the time that Mandibuzz was Terastallized for Dark type. I would have KO'd it right here if I actually went for Earthquake. And I shouldn't have went to Roulette since it's slower, but I thought I could outspeed. Go for Water Shuriken since it's a priority and I can KO. And she has 4 more Pokemon, while I have 2 at yellow HP. I really can't do anything here, so I just ultimately wipe out yet again due to my inability to prepare for boss fights or gym leaders. Chapter 4 Endgame. Levels 145 and beyond. Tab number 12. Level 145, we face against Ivy, who has a terrifying team. And yet again, we forget to fully heal our team, so we have a weakened team against a powerful Ivy. She hits a Blast Burn and KOs my Excadrill. And currently I have 2 paralyzed Pokemon. I use Water Shuriken to end Envor. Sends out Florges, and I switch to Klinklang. I try Sweep with Klinklang since it's my only option to actually win this game. I really can't do anything against my Lodic except switch into Whimsicott, who is paralyzed. I go for Giga Drain, she switched into Noctowl. I switch back into Tyranitar. Then I go for Stone Edges. Switch into Florges. I'm paralyzed. Switch into Klinklang. Just gonna switch back into my Lodic, so I go for Discharge, which does absolutely nothing. And due to the fact that none of my Pokemon can do any damage and the AI constantly switching, I'm able to do nothing, and ultimately my team gets chipped down to death. Step number 24, the God Run. So level is 70, I encounter an Araculodon, which I catch. And it's very useful for my team composition as it's very bulky and has very few weaknesses. In level 86, I encounter Latios, which is an extremely rare encounter. I managed to capture the Latios and add it to my team. On level 145, a rival Ivy appears again. This time, she has a Quadadavel, and I switch into Breloom, and then she switches into Arcanine. I switch into Gyarados, then she switches into Rayquaza. Since I have Ice Fang, I stay in Gyarados and attack with Ice Fang. I continue attacking. And Rayquaza misses a Hurricane, and I knock Rayquaza out with Ice Fang. He sends in Excalibur, and I stay in and sack Gyarados. I go into Latios, and use Dragon Pulse, which one hit KOs. And she sends out Orpworm, and I go into Excadrill. And I use Earthquake, I use Rock Slide, I predict switch in. I use Rock Slide again, and I miss. I use Rock Slide and take out the... I keep on missing Rock Slides. I use Rock Slide and take out the Toucannon. She sends back in the Quaquaval, and I switch into Breloom. Has Acrobatics, which I didn't expect, and takes out Breloom. So I switch back into Latios and go for Luster Purge. She goes into Orpworm. I go into Talonflame. Expecting to switch into Quadadavel, I go for Tailwind, but she switched into Arcanine, then I switch into Arcanine. And I go for Sakir to get some chip damage. I go back into Excadrill, which fortunately dies, but I do get some chip damage. Then I go into Talonflame. Expecting a switch in, I switch into Garkanok. And I use Sakir. You actually use Rock Slide. I get a crit. Then I stay in the Garkanok since my defense is high. And I go for Rock Slides. Garkanok gets KO'd. And I switch into Latios, who can clean up the rest of her mons. Level 170, we face Gym Leader Caddy. She mostly consists of Bug-type Pokemon, and I'm able to KO her Excalibur with her Talonflame pretty easily with Flamethrower. Then send Low Kicks, and then go into Garkanok. I go for a Rock Slide, and she goes into Heracross. I switch to Gyarados. Go for Waterfall and she goes into Venomoth. I'm able to take out Venomoth with two Waterfalls. He goes into Libiani and I go back into Talonflame. I go for Acrobatics. And lock kicks takes a ton of damage. I'm able to hit KO lock kicks. He goes into Spide Ops, and I go for Flamethrower. And Talonflame gets KO'd by Stone Axe. I go to Exegil since I have Rock Slide, and I use Rock Slide and KO the Spide Ops. He goes into Leaviani, and I just go for Rock Slides. Leaf Blade KOs Exegil with a crit. And I go to Grokkanok, who tanks a Leaf Blade, but Leaviani survives with a Reviver Seed. I survive a crit Leaf Blade and KO Leaviani. I let Grokkanok die. And I finish the fight with Latios. Levels 180 to 190, we face the Elite Four. So the first Elite Four member is Malva, who mainly consists of Fire-type Pokemon. I go for Earthquake, but she switches into a Fire-flying Pokemon or a Koro. I switch to Gardenok and go for a Stealth Rocks. I go for Stealth Rocks because she is going to be continuous switching, so I think it's a good idea to set up Stealth Rocks here. Go into Gyarados and go for a Waterfall. But I get one hit KO'd by Astra Barrage, which I don't know what that move does. I think it's a high power ghost type move. She goes for another Astra Barrage and Gardenok barely survives, but her Chandelure also survives. I go into Talonflame and she goes for Moonblast. I go for Acrobatics and I get KO'd by Astra Barrage. She heals up with Citrus Berries. I go into Latios, use a Luster Purge, and I'm able to KO the Chandelure who's been sweeping my team. He goes into Torkoal, and I stay in and Luster Purge. I am able to one-hit KO the Torkoal. He goes into Oricoro, gets Self-Rock damaged. I switch back into Gardenok and go for Recover as she's going to switch. I go for another Recover and Pyro has Solar Beam. Seeing that Pyro has Solar Beam, I switch back into Latios. I go for Psychic. I think from here on out, I'm able to sweep with Latios since Self-Rock damage does a ton of damage to her Fire Flying types and her Fire types. And I'm just spamming Luster Purge or Psychics, and I'm able to KO her whole team. On level 184, we face against Cybold, who is a Water-type Elite Four member. He goes into Cloyster, and I stay in and I use Dragon Dance. He goes for Iron Defense, and I go for a Crunch. Seeing that Crunch does no damage, I know Cloyster has a weak special defense, so I go into Latios and use a Psychic on one-hit KO Cloyster. Go to Alamonola, and I go for Luster Purge. Go for Psychic, actually. And I use Dragon Pulse and KO the Alamonola. Goes into Starmie. I go for Dragon Pulse. Go for another Dragon Pulse. and then I KO the Barbarnacle with Zen Headbutt. And right here, I'm trying to preserve my PvP, so I'm not using Sidekicks or Luster Purge, due to the fact that I have 4 continuous fights that I need to maintain with the limited amount of PP, and I also want to save my money. Right here, I'm able to KO I get outspeed by Gyarados and get KO'd. But now that Gyarados is confused, I switch into Breloom and go for Seed Bomb. Gyarados gets confused and I KO the Gyarados with Breloom. I go for Seed Bomb and KO the Cloudwurzer with Breloom. He goes in Starmie and I'm able to KO the Starmie with Mach Punch. But we face against Elite 4 member Wilkstorm, who primarily consists of Steel-type Pokemon. I switch into Talonflame, and I go for Tailwind, predicting a switch in. He switches into Bastiodon, and I switch into Excadrill. And I go for Rock Slide, predicting that he's going to switch back into Corviknight. I go back into Talonflame, and I go for Flamethrower. I switch out Talonflame, fearing that Bastiodon can somehow survive. So I switch back into Excadrill, go for Rock Slide, and then I go back into Talonflame. I go for Flamethrower, I take out the Bastiodon. He goes into Corviknight, and I go for a Flamethrower and take out the Corviknight. I switch into Excadrill, fearing that Probopass can survive a Flamethrower. I go for Swords Dance, and seeing that Probopass can't really do anything, I go for another Swords Dance. And I go for Earthquake, take out the Probopass. He goes to Scizor, and I stay in Excadrill since I'm +4 and take out the Scizor. I go for high horsepower and miss. And Aegislash is able to take out my Excadrill. Should went for Earthquake, but I thought high horsepower would hit. I go for Crunch on Gyarados, get a crit. Then I go for Waterfall. And somehow Aegislash doesn't take me out. Push to Talonflame here. And I go for Flamethrower, which KOs the Klefki. Level 1 Ace 88, we face against a Elite 4 member, Drasna, who consists of Dragon-type Pokemon. So I start off using Dragon Dance, I get frozen, but I get defrosted and go for another Dragon Dance. At +2, I thought I can KO Drampa, but Drampa somehow survives, and I get KO'd. Then I go to Latios and use Dragon Pulse. And I KO Excalibur. Seeing how strong Latios is, I just spam Dragon Pulse and I'm able to KO every single Pokemon and win this battle. Level 190, we face against a champion, Diantha. She sends out a Cloyster, who is terrestrialized as Ice. They go for Flamethrower on Talonflame, and in one hit KO the Cloyster. She goes into Goodra, and I go for Tailwind. Talonflame somehow survives, and I just sack it and go for Acrobatics. I get a crit. And I go into Latios to take out the Goodra Dragon Pulse. She goes into Gardevoir. And I go into Excadrill. I go use Earthquake, but she switches into Hawlucha. And I go back into Latios. I use a Lesser Purge, and she goes into Gardevoir. I go back into Excadrill, and predicting a Hawlucha switch, I go for Rock Slide. Then I go back into Latios. I go for a Lesser Purge. I go back into Excadrill again. And I go for another Rock Slide. I go for Earthquake. And then I sack Excadrill and go for a Rock Slide. So I go back into Latios and go for a Lesser Purge. I'm getting the special defense drop. I just stay in. And use Psychic. And we'll survive a Boom Burst. I seen how she got a special defense increase. I decided to switch into Gyarados. For Waterfall and KO the Gardevoir. She goes back into Goodra. I use an Ice Fang. And Goodra gets frozen, which is good. I go for another Ice Fang. Goodra still survives somehow. I miss the Ice Fang, but somehow I'm able to take out the Goodra. So she goes into Xerneas, and I just go for a Waterfall. Xerneas one-hit KOs my Gyarados, and I'm left with Garchomp. I use Salt Cure, and she goes into Gorgeous. Then I just sack Latios for some reason. I should have switched to Latios, I should just go into Breloom. So I decided to go use Rock Slide. And spam Recover since Salt Cure is still effective. I go switch into Breloom, and there's nothing I can really do as Breloom since it only has Fighting type and Grass type moves. And Gourgeist has a Flamethrower, which when it KOs my Breloom. I go for Salt Cure, and I basically just get ended by Gourgeist. And looking at this fight, Pokemon composition against the champion was very one-sided. She had the Xerneas and Gardevoir, which countered my Latios and my Breloom, which I had surviving my party. If I probably knew what the Pokemon that the champion had beforehand, I might have like sacked different Pokemon, but I just think this is just a compositional difference. She had a better party, and I can't really match up with her with my party. After attempt 24, I was unable to manage the same success. After coming so close in many attempts, I ultimately stumbled and failed due to making many mistakes. Simple mistakes such as forgetting to heal before the end of each level, before a gym fight, or a boss fight. Even though I kept losing, I still did not give up. After countless attempts, I would eventually reach level 70, which would be the attempt I beat PokeRogue with no starter Pokemon. Thank you for watching, and if you're interested in watching my 70th attempt where I beat PokeRogue with no starter Pokemon, make sure to subscribe.